reading seminar on what will be a series of conversations about very fun stuff, the divine power of maturity and women and men and everything that we represent. We have a few panelists that are all volunteers and all sharing their expertise and experiences and concerns and big hearts with us. My name is Olga Rines. I'm the chair of the Staff Association Healthy Staff Group. Very difficult to pronounce, but basically we are working with almost 6,000 people in our membership who are just concerned about success that is healthy, sustainable, inclusive, kind, and we really, really hope to create the space for conversation that opens us up, not just to give advice, not to just suggest what to do, but to really explore what issues we have, what taboos we're dealing with, what stigmas we are struggling. So we feel supported, not alone, that we understand and normalize those situations, because ultimately it is a wonderful opportunity after pandemic to change the conditions of how we live, how we work, as a holistic whole person attitude to ourselves and to our colleagues and to the world in general. And we very much invite you to bring anyone you want. These conversations are really open to anyone, your neighbors, your friends, your sisters, brothers, whoever is in your support group. Please bring them on board so you build your own support system, connect with people here, exchange phone numbers, and start build a community to support yourself. With that, I'm going to pass the stage to our panelists, and I would introduce Lorraine and Abigail, who actually came to us with this initial idea of the conversation, and let them explain how this came about. We have Lynette, who is the certified and licensed nutritionist. So she will be leading us today and next time and throughout our discussions on magic of food plates for brilliant aging. We have Gabby, who will be leading us through some fitness exercises. If we are really courageous, we might do like a belly dancing to unblock some of our working hard muscles. We will have some mindfulness sessions for you. So it's really, really awesome to have you. What I would like us to do before I pass the mic, please say in the chat where you're from, and please use the chat to communicate your questions, your comments. We really want this to be an engaging conversations and not just a listening mode. So we will be responding to your questions either live today or collect them and have more in-depth conversation about this in the seminars that follow. Today, we're talking about 3 broad topics: how to help yourself, how to engage organization into structures that might be helpful to you going through those transitional times, and what are the destigmatization and normalizing our experiences. And then each following seminar, we will go deep in each of these sessions. So that's how we envision that, but it only will be as helpful to you as your own participation. So let's practice the chat, and please tell us where you're from. Any questions that you may have, just shoot. And then with that, I'm passing the mic to Lorraine and Abigail. And thank you, our panelists, and thank you, people who came.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I think there are 3 of us that should be in this panel, because the conversation started with Noko Kunya, as well as with Abigail and myself. And the question that was brought before us is that there's never been a presentation on how women move through, it's a transition, move through the experience of menopause while still maintaining the responsibilities of work and family, and with all of the physical and emotional changes. How do we bring this to the open? How do we strengthen women so that they can begin to, at this stage in life, start to put a priority on their own health, their own well-being, especially during this period, and be able to signal in the work environment that, you know, they've provided a valuable contribution to this institution and will continue to do so. But this is a time where they may need, you know, additional focus on wellness, on nutrition, on rest, whatever it may be, but to find the voice to be able to say, this is, we need to learn more, and we need to share, and we need to lead in this respect. So that's really how it started. And I want to defer also to Abigail and Nokakunya to ask their viewpoints as well.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. So I'm trying to get my video, it's not working. Anyway, I just wanted to welcome everybody here. And it really started with Knox and a few other people who reached out to me. I'm one of the staff relations counselors from the Staff Association. And so, you know, staff usually reach out to us to say what kind of support is available for staff. And we didn't really know except to refer them to HSD. And so when Knox was the one who kept pushing, and voila, here we are. So over to you, Knox. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Abigail. Good morning.
Yeah.
So thanks for organizing this, Olga, and you really sort of were championing to sort of coordinate everybody. So thank you for that. So for me, what really struck me was that a friend of mine was telling me that she was going through this process of change, and she started experiencing her periods becoming a little heavier. And that one day she was just sitting in the office working, and when she got up to go to grab a coffee, she realized that she had literally bled herself through the chair. And she had a sense of deep embarrassment. She literally sat down until the day ended, didn't want to go to the bathroom or anything like that because she was so embarrassed. And for me, what struck me was that, you know, there's lots of us in this office that are female, and many of us who are sort of going into menopause or have already experienced menopause, and that it shouldn't be something shameful because we are all going to experience it. The thing is, what do we do about it? How do we support each other? How does the institution help us so that the person doesn't sit there the whole day waiting for everybody to go home before she can get up to go and clean herself or just attend to what she's experiencing? I felt that perhaps there is a need for us to actually understand what we can anticipate will happen for us in our bodies as we age. And also then, as Olga mentioned in the beginning, what kind of support can we get from friends, but mostly from the institution, for awareness and somebody who can see that, oh, I think this person is having a problem and I can come in and support her. And then what other ways we can just try and mitigate some of the symptoms that we are going to experience. So really for me, it was about learning, but also raising awareness so that we can sort of break the shame that's associated with experiencing something so natural as going through the aging process. So I will send that back to you, Olga.
Unmute is probably the most popular word right now. Thank you so much for introducing yourself and the topic. And in addition to what everyone said, I also want to really bring this wider a little bit too. It's not just women, it's also men that need to be part of this conversation for various reasons. One, they go through similar aging, maybe different, but similar journey. Two, they are the ones who are supporting us and are working with us, leading us, you know, mentoring, learning from us. So it's a part of conversation that I think everyone needs to be really engaged. And that's what going to set the diversifying sort of examples and experiences. And I also want to emphasize that we will be talking about silver lining, because it's not just about problems. It's an amazing opportunity to also bring certain things that come with that will benefit not just you, but everyone. And it's very important to talk about the silver lining and the contribution that we often tend to oversee when we focus on problems, and we don't see the leveraging opportunities to really be the holistic, wholesome, brilliant self and see that brilliance in others. So with that, I will ask Nukuhaini to lead us through. We got some questions on these 3 topics that I identified. the normalizing and maybe opening up with what this broader conversation can look like, what symptoms we're dealing with, and just start bringing these norms and myths down to the barriers and myths. Please use chat to bring your ideas or sharing with us how it's resonating with you. If it resonates, we'll go deeper. If it doesn't, we will skip. But I suggest we maybe go over what is that thing that we're dealing with? What is the andropause, menopause, aging, what symptoms we're dealing with, and how they specifically impact our life, relationship, work, performance. So we have a scope, and then some suggestions that we can bring. Then we're going to move on into self-care and talk about that for 10-15 minutes, why we need to focus on how to deal with guilt and what specific we can do about loving self and loving and appreciating our bodies, men, women, aging, no matter who we are. And then the last 10-15 minutes, we'll be talking about more organizational support, how we can structure meetings, how we can bring questions about physical environment, how we can work on the cultural aspects of work, and what we can practically do to make your experience and journey and the experience of others easier. And then we'll have a few minutes for Q&A. Also, we'll collect questions on your chat. And then the next weeks, we're going to go deeper and deeper and deeper as far as our journey takes us. So that sounds good? In the chat, if it resonates, say yes, please. And please, Nikiana, take us over.
Thanks, Olga. So I think we sort of have about 45 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken. So what we want to start with is maybe just get Lorraine to go through a little bit of an overview of what is it that we need to expect as we're going in. Some people are already in menopause, others are probably at the end, but others are still going to go in. So we have a bit of a mixed crowd. So Lorraine, if you can maybe just take about 10 minutes or maximum to just give us an overview of what happens.
Right. I do also want to, I mean, again, I like Olga's widening the net, so to speak, because this is a journey that we will take together. And I see that someone from HSD is also with us, Rebecca. And I want to be able to say that what I say obviously is going to have to be followed, by perhaps an entire session devoted to the hormonal changes. But menopause really occurs when in the ovaries there is the production of estrogen slows, and it really I like the word menopause because it is a fairly gradual process. There is a perimenopausal period, a premenopausal period, where the body is adjusting to a decrease in estrogen. And estrogen has a lot of activity, a lot of power over our bodies. It obviously our sexuality, our bone growth, our mood, our ability to sleep, all of that comes with estrogen. And estrogen for that period, the fertile period, the period where pregnancy is possible, up to into perhaps the early to mid to late 40s, we depend upon a monthly surge of estrogen in order for us to be able to produce the eggs that would produce a pregnancy. And so with the gradual reduction of estrogen comes physical and emotional symptoms. Sometimes the body, like when Noko Kanya was talking about a bleeding episode, sometimes the body overreacts in the sense that it produces the lining is produced and is not completely left. And so in other words, it's not completely ended as in a period. And you can actually miss a period, you think, and actually have a heavier bleeding. So it can actually be a cessation of bleeding, a reduction of bleeding, or in some cases, a surge of bleeding because of an imbalance in the body. So the doctor will, the first thing is when you start to experience these symptoms and the doctor says your follicular stimulating hormones are in the perimenopausal stage, which means that you have entered and slowly are moving towards a menopause. And that is a time where not just the physical, but also the mental and the wellness aspect needs to come in, because your body is making a profound change from the time you were 12 to 13 years old. You have, your body has been into this cycle of a surge of estrogen. Estrogen drops. There's the progesterone, and you move through that over decades. And then all of a sudden, the periods start to become irregular. The body is responding as if the body is really trying to produce an egg and to move with this. The body is trying to do that. And as the body tries to adjust and move towards that, these symptoms that sometimes can be disturbing can happen. There is increase in fatigue during this time, so rest is very, very important. And Lynette will be talking to us about nutrition, because there are ways to supplement. There are supplements that have been used for generations, over-the-counter supplements and homeopathic supplements, and even some supplements. At one point, people were provided with estrogen, with the idea that could both help the symptoms of menopause and assist with a possibility of protection against heart disease. That, of course, is no longer the case because of the increase in breast cancer in taking endogenous estrogen. But doctors can, on occasion, if the symptoms are severe, the doctor can actually provide an endogenous estrogen. So there are medical, physical, and mental adjustments that can and will be made. So anyway, I think what I'd like really with these questions is to do a question and answer on that. If people could ask some questions and we could learn from your experience, I think that would be very helpful. So anyway, that's sort of the nurse's viewpoint on the experience of menopause, what's going on within the body. And as I said, when HST enters in, you will have a whole classes that, a whole hour devoted just to that.
And if you can just step in for a second, and thank you, Lorraine, for this, but also add to the scope of what we could be talking about. And it depends on your chat questions and comments. So it's like hormonal changes. There are symptoms that definitely impact how we show up at work and at home. We're talking about mood swings. We're talking about hot flashes. We're talking about interruptions to our meetings sometimes. It could be body changes that make a conversation with our spouses sometimes, or a relationship a bit stringent. There are certain skills and mindsets that need to be introduced and practiced as the new way of relating to those issues. We can talk about emotional fluctuations and how they show up. Sleep disruptions, that's a key issue and can play a significant role in productiveness and effectiveness at work. Loss of purpose, that's more like a lifestyle and mindset issues. Social isolation that some people start experiencing. Workplace challenges, how our meetings are conducted. We can talk about things that will not necessarily be physical and on the surface, but more deeper and vulnerable. So please feel free to send questions in the chat. If it's easier to send them privately, do so. And please ask questions so we can engage in the conversation. And Nakian, please take us further.
Thanks, Olga, and thanks, Lorraine, for that very high level but very informative outline of what actually happens mentally, medically, and physically to the body. I would like to just maybe, before we open up a little bit more to the questions in the chat, to talk a little bit about the issue of the stigma and the taboos surrounding the issue of menopause. So either Lorraine or Lynette, Gabby, if you also want to sort of jump in, please go ahead and just maybe touch on the stigmas so people are able to understand what to expect as well in that relation.
Let me just talk about the concept just for a second of taboo. And that is, of course, taboo is also at the beginning. It's at the menarche as well as the menopause. That is the ultimate, the female experience. There's a lot that goes along from centuries and centuries of, focus in on fertility, which is of course been associated with the woman, and also with the some of the spiritual aspects. And in this case, I'm talking about taboo not in a religious sense, but the idea of the power that goes along with menstruation, and that power being ebbing with the menopause. And so again, having women value themselves throughout that life cycle. So I think that's important, and to be able to take control of that. Taboo is always something coming from the outside. It's not from something within you. But if within you there is that power and that strength, that these transitions are understood and they are accepted. So I think that concept there is important. And as it, you know, in the nowadays, whether it be menarche or menopause or childbirth, women are speaking about it. They're using medical terms. They're using the actual terms. What is it that I'm experiencing? Coming out in that respect. And that reduces that concept of taboo. It takes the power away from the externals and to the woman herself. So I think that's important. But I think the last bastion of that is the workplace, because women have had to be out there. They could do it just as good, as well as men. We can do this, we can do that. But we are bodies, you know, obviously, and our bodies are changing. How do we give ourselves permission in the menopause to be able to take some time out that would help us to deal with these symptoms, especially to deal with the fatigue, which is a very strong element, to be able to, you know, name perhaps the hot flash, or not to feel that sense of taboo or the sense of shame with a hot flash, to be able to understand and embody that in a way that we can help. As Olga said, it's not just for women, it's for our community, it's for men and for women. So with that, I'll go silent. And somebody has asked a question about estrogen and estrogen patches. Estrogen, I would love to have Lynette come in on that, because now we're talking about soy in those kinds of supplements that can help us, things that have been used for generations, as opposed to a medication such as estrogen, where in fact you're actually using, you know, an actual hormone that will have a lot of effects on the body. Doesn't mean you can't use it, and this is where you have to talk with your doctor, except that a lot of the over-the-counters really are nutritional. And I would love to have Lynette, you know, talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Lynette.
Okay. I have heard of Estragen, but I am not a doctor and do not provide medical advice. So really my focus next week when we talk about nutrition is all about symptoms and how certain foods can either trigger or assist and alleviate the symptoms. So to your point, Lorraine, I always refer people back to their physician before they start any sort of supplementation, because, you know, who knows about medical interactions or, you know, their own other medical history, medical, you know, chronic conditions, whatever it might be. So for me, my focus is really on food and how your diet and lifestyle, you know, can assist you through this transition.
Lynette, do you want to say a little bit more? I know you're going to do a whole session on it, but just for the purposes of this conversation, perhaps you can say a little bit more about food, and then we will be able to sort of perhaps generate some questions.
Sure. I put a PDF of what should I eat in the chat, if you scroll all the way to the top. And Olga, I'm not sure if I have permission to share my screen, but if somebody could share it on the screen for everybody, and then I'm happy to talk to it once we can see it.
You can share your screen, your co-host, and I also try to repost so people can open it up.
Okay. Let's see if that's gonna work. Okay. Do you see anything?
Yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
You can see it. Okay. I cannot see it because it's on like my screen 3 here in the office, but okay. But I can talk to it. All right. So you probably have noticed that as you have gotten older, you can't quite get away with everything that you were eating. It becomes more important to move away from those energy dense foods, the high calorie, high fat, high sugar, low water content. And everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? The biscuits, the chips, the fried chicken, the pastries, candy, pies, cakes. And then moving more toward nutrient dense foods, right? These are the foods that give you that massive micronutrient hit of vitamins, minerals, and omega-3 fatty acids. So most people, most women that I speak with don't have a diet that's terribly unhealthy. So they wonder, like, why, why is this happening? What can I do? But so next Wednesday, we'll go deeper into that and give you some strategies and specific foods that can alleviate some of the bothersome symptoms. But okay, back to the plate here. You'll see that there's a main focus on protein and vegetables. It's especially important to get enough protein as we age. It's the building block of the body. It fuels detoxification and supports lean muscle mass. There's examples listed here. Hopefully you can see that okay. There's 9 essential proteins that you have to get from your diet, and your body can't store it. So it's really important that you eat protein at every meal from high quality sources like meat, poultry, eggs, oily fish, white fish, legumes, nuts, seeds, and tofu. And we will talk about soy because there are some conflicting studies. It's very confusing. Sometimes people say yes, some people say no. So we will also talk about that next week. You also want to increase, big surprise, your intake of vegetables. They're anti-aging, have antioxidants, gut boosting, nutrient dense foods. So eating a wide variety of natural foods of every color of the rainbow every day will ensure that you get the full spectrum of phytonutrients that you need to maintain optimum health. And by that, that's the carotenoids, flavonoids, resveratrol, lignans, curcuminoids, etc. And then, of course, fiber the vegetables have, which helps feed the gut and beneficial bugs there. Healthy fats are key. And, of course, you don't want to overdo it, but because they are higher in calories. But during menopause, it's crucial for your health, your skin, right, to help absorb vitamins that are fat soluble, to protect your heart, your brain, bones, and even your waistline. As long as you're eating the right fats and not overdoing it. We also need anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids. They help lower your triglycerides. They improve your mood, balance your hormones, and really help you feel satisfied for longer. So eat the full-fat yogurt. Make sure you're getting an abundance of oily fish, nuts, seeds, avocados are a good one. Grains and fruit can be part of a healthy diet, but you notice these are a smaller percentage. And usually if you're having issues, they're the first things that are recommended to go, especially if you have sugar dysregulation, you have digestive issues, or if you're concerned about your weight management. Herbs and spices, great sources of phytonutrients and flavor. Of course, you want to stay hydrated. But the bottom line is focusing on real whole food. You want to avoid the processed foods, the refined grains and sugar. Those all strip your body of vitamins and minerals as they're being processed. Alcohol as well. And then caffeine, you want to limit. And I'm a coffee drinker, so I'm not going to say no caffeine. But you want to limit it in the morning, especially if you have sleep issues, right? You don't want to be drinking it throughout the day, and then if you know you're up all night and you wonder why. So yeah, that's an overview of the plates. Back to you, Olga.
So thanks a lot for sharing that. And I think you did answer one of the questions around drinking coffee, which I suppose if people are really interested in a deep dive on this, you're going to be doing next week. Olga, I don't know whether you want to add anything here before we jump to Gabby, who's going to talk to us about just fitness, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Can I just come in for just a second, Olga? There's a question about the estrogen patch. Again, I agree entirely with Lynette that really does have to be the focus, a medical focus. But estrogen, whether it's a patch or a pill, is estrogen. It is a hormone, endogenous hormone replacement. So, there are medical aspects to it. Your risk of breast cancer, as opposed to your risk for heart disease, as opposed to the intensity of the symptoms. Again, a doctor has to be very, very careful. It's not for everybody, but it can be for some. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, and this again, in the those who also have come from Asia would understand this, is that another very important food is that soy as a source of protein, actually, and some, without using excess amounts of soy, but to add soy to the diet, because that has estrogen-like qualities that can be somewhat helpful in the symptomology. Again, even with a soy, definitely with a soy supplement, you need to talk to the doctor, but trying to integrate soy, because soy can be used to sometimes moderate the effects of menopause. Just wanted to mention that.
We also have a question in the chat about mushroom coffee. I don't know if anybody has heard of that, or they have any comments about whether that's good or bad. Olga, you seem like you are ready to answer that.
No, I don't know anything about mushrooms other than ayahuasca level. But what I would like also to add, well, first of all, we had a wonderful conversation with Dr. West just a few months ago, and I reposted in the Yammer page the entire replay of that. She is a phenomenal doctor specializing in women's health and specifically an aging side of it. And she brought a beautiful spiritual view as well as talking about different solutions. So highly encourage you to go back and look at this, so I can repost in Yammer for your easy link. It's an hour long, I think, or even 90 minutes. But I also wanted to make sure that I personally work with Dr. West. That's how I know her. But I found her because of a different issue on the testosterone, actually. And that is what makes us kind of in common with men in this level. But it is a very important hormone that plays a role in our sexual drive, in our sense of energy. And we don't think much about that dropping and playing a role in the women's body. But it was a very interesting discussion that she introduced, and I encouraged to do some Google search on that as well. The role of testosterone in this process, and how sometimes we need the hormonal shift and help with that in order for us to rebalance our overall life sort of and sense of self as a woman. So highly encourage you to look into that unusual man version of us. And it's also very, very obviously relevant to men, because obviously there's a drop in that, but that associates with loss of muscle mass, which requires us to build up more. And Gabby can talk about the specific focus and how to rebuild muscle and weights. It also plays a role in muscles not supporting bones, and the bones of fragile state that we often can develop. So it's really important to look into the whole scope of that, and definitely engage some health care person. So we do have resources here. We have a medical clinic that might be open for these conversations. They couldn't join, but we did talk to HSD, and there might be something to follow up in the next couple of months and have that aspect. And we can bring an expert, either Dr. West or someone else back, and have those conversations going deeper.
And could I mention, in terms of sexuality, another aspect of menopause is vaginal dryness, and doctors do prescribe a vaginal suppository, an estrogen suppository, and that can help with vaginal dryness. And that even those who have survivors of breast cancer, it can even be prescribed for them, because the dosage is low, and the focus really is on enhancing one's ability to experience, continue to experience, sexuality and have comfort, and actually reduce urinary tract infections, which also come, with menopause. And then the other part of it is that we produce estrogen all our lives. It's just that and menopause, it's not the ovary, it's the adrenal glands. So, and they produce both testosterone and estrogen. So, it isn't like we stop having estrogen. That's the end of estrogen. It's just that estrogen is reduced, and it is produced by the adrenal glands. Just thought I'd mention that. And I would love to see this thing on Dr. West.
And also very important to think is that it's not that these hormonal changes don't happen necessarily at age 53 and a half. Unfortunately, it can hit very early in the late 20s even. And I personally, in the 25 years working in the World Bank, had to help my friends who put on hold their families until they establish their career and make, certain advancements and get settled. And then at age 32, 34, they discovered that it's already too late. And it was devastating to see the impact on their relationships and their career, because obviously there's a resistance now to career success. So that's something you need to be thinking way before it hits. And another component on that, as Lorraine said, it's not just what happens to the body, but in the sexuality, for example, it's a self-image. It changes the perspective how we show up in relationship, also in the office, because we shrink sometimes. Super important is to lean into establishing and building connections and communication with partners, and be able to not just not feel guilty, but actually use this as a great opportunity to go deeper in relationships. We have to talk about this, and it's uncomfortable, and we don't have the language. So in one of our seminars, I think whenever I lead one, number 4, we actually will be practicing. You will go into small groups and practice these uncomfortable conversations, because when you practice, then you have a bit more tools to go and step in and do it live. But you're not alone, and you shouldn't be alone. And we do need to just learn the mindsets and the language to talk and practice before we step in and we bring our partners and our colleagues in. And at work, you're also not alone. There are other people who could support. You can develop a signal with someone in the meeting that you agree ahead of time, like, whatever you want, and they will know that it's a moment that you may be having a moment, and they can take over, or they can ask for a break, or they can step in, and you can have a little bit spotlight off you. So there are techniques that we also will be discussing a bit more. But plus, nothing biggie happens if you need to go and pee and poop. I'm sorry for my language. What do you say? Sorry, I need a minute. And you walk into the bathroom and you go, right? You can also have a hot flash and say, sorry, I need a minute. And it's normalizing it through your own body experiences that we have easier way of expressing. So it's more things to support your body psychologically and in behavioral as well.
Thanks, Olga. So we have about 20 minutes left. I still think it's important for us to hear from Gabby and just see from the fitness perspective, and how can we help ourselves in that sense, and then I'll open it up to questions from the participants. Gabby, it looks like you also want to touch on the mushroom coffee, so perhaps maybe you can start there and then go into the health part.
Yes, I can personally recommend the so-called rice mushroom coffee. They have become very popular in the last few years. And years back, when they started their company, they approached me on social media because I'm a personal trainer there. And I have tried them. I'm personally not so much a mushroom coffee in terms of taste, but I have tried it, and I would recommend it. I know many people who like it and who would also recommend it. If you want to give it a try, I do have a discount code with them that I can provide to you. Makes it a little bit cheaper, and you can't go wrong with it. Regarding fitness, I wonder, what is everybody thinking when you think about fitness and menopause? Like, what do you think could I inform you about that you don't already know? If you want to type quickly into the chat. My answer will be very brief and clear. And it is, your fountain of youth is really building muscle. It's not jogging or cardio, it is building muscle. Of course, cardio is part of exercising. And by all means, do that if you like it, but do not neglect weight training. And you could start with body weight. I know many women are kind of reluctant going to the gym, even using weights. There is some fear around it. They don't want to, they feel like they are not doing it right. And building muscle is crucial as you age, that you're aging in a fit way, not only for looks, but you know, your bones will be like, you will be healthy and you will be able to see it. I am, if you don't know that, I am offering about 4 days a week here on the Healthy Yammer group. I'm offering 20 minutes bodyweight workouts focusing on muscle strengthening. And if you want to join, please be my guest. I'm announcing my workouts every Sunday for the following week. It's usually either in the morning, 7:45 or 12 noon, depending on when I need to go to the office. And it's 20 minutes and everyone can do it. And even if you think I cannot hold a plank for a minute, well, then you hold it for 30 seconds. Like, you need to start. That's the key message. And building real muscle. I mean, you would notice a difference, especially in the beginning when you start training regularly. But if you're very serious about building muscle, I'm always suggesting invest into your health and get a personal trainer where you feel comfortable with, and meet the trainer like 2-3 times a week for like 50 minutes, and they're gonna show you and you're gonna learn about your body. And if you don't take care of your health now, you will have to take care of your illnesses at the time. If you think you don't have time for the gym, well, what do you think, how much time you're gonna sit and wait in doctor's offices, you know, down the road? I do not record my workouts because it's bad quality. I do it over Zoom. You're not able to attend. I see. Please send me, let me put my email address. Please send me an email and I will put you on the list. I'm not checking who is coming, who is not. It's like totally voluntarily. I'm not judging you at all. Please just show up and try it out. And I do have on YouTube, I do have a channel where I do the same 20 minutes workouts that you could, called Train with Gabi, that you could look at, and they're very similar to what I do here live 4 to 5 times a week. Yeah, I think I have covered everything.
Thanks, Gabby. And you will be doing a session later on in the series, right?
Yes. Good. Thank you for mentioning this. So apart from my regular workouts during the week, I will offer mine on Sunday. It's a Sunday, the 19th of November at 9 a.m., 20 minutes. And I'm gonna focus more on the pelvic floor area, which I know is more delicate as we move after having kids and move through menopause, and the abs. That's what I'm gonna focus on. But it is basically a muscle strengthening workout that I'm gonna offer. I'm not reinventing the wheel. It's just what we need to do is, and my fellow Austrian Arnold Schwarzenegger keeps saying this, it's the routine that you keep all your life. You know, you don't come up with weird exercises. You repeat every week the same. And even if you think it's not, I don't know, it's getting, you should be doing something else. No, they're like key exercises. And if you continue to do them for the rest of your life regularly, you will be just fine. And you will be better than if you don't do them.
Wonderful. Olga, I see you unmuted yourself. I also then want to open up questions if people would like to raise their hands, if you want to sort of have direct engagement and not type in the chat. Olga, please go ahead.
I just want to also ask if we can bring Audrey Roxas, who is going to be offering 2 mindfulness sessions, so she can talk a little bit about this. It's an awesome way to relax before the holidays and also learn to love your body and connect with yourself. So, Audrey, if you could please speak a few words. about your sessions and when we can expect them. Thank you. I hope I didn't catch her off guard. But if she could come later, she will talk about this. But basically, as this week of right before the holidays break, she is offering 2 sessions on Monday and Tuesday, both in the morning, one in the morning and one in the evening, so we can incorporate country office timeline as well. And it's going to be about 15-20 minutes on going deep within and having the stress relaxation techniques that she will take through, because big part of helping yourself through is relaxing through stress and balancing your body this way. So please watch out. It's going to be right Monday, Tuesday before the Thanksgiving holidays. Thank you.
All right, thanks for that, Olga. So we can take some direct questions if people have direct questions. If you don't have any direct questions about what's been said, you may also be able to share things that you are interested in learning about for the next series. So we can sort of capture and see how we incorporate that into the next sessions. So Gabby, it seems that the people would like to know when your pelvic floor class is going to be so that they can connect, and how do they connect?
So this specific pelvic floor is on Sunday, November 19th at 9 a.m. And it is we're gonna post the link on it's gonna be my regular Zoom, the same details that I always use also for my other classes, and we're gonna post them on the Healthy Yama group, I think, before my session. And but again, you know, the pelvic floor exercises are not vastly different or much different from a regular like workout. We're gonna do squats, we're gonna do glute bridges. I mean, you've seen these exercises before, but I'm just gonna tell you to be more mindful about your pelvic floor muscles. And I'm also gonna focus on abs, which are important as it all plays together. So I would encourage you, not just, if you cannot make the 19th, come to any other session. I do focus on different muscle groups on different days, but trust me, every muscle group is, none should be neglected.
All right, thanks, Gabby. I don't see any hands. I don't know if anybody else can see any hands, but we did have some questions that have already been answered related to caffeine, estrogen. There was one right at the beginning about silver lining. I think, Sheena, you had something that you said about silver lining. I don't know whether you would like to share the silver lining that you said you have found in person, or anybody else. If you've got questions, please feel free to ask questions at this point.
And I also would engage, if you don't have questions, maybe you want to express your concerns, maybe some experiences that you faced that might help us to illuminate to others and open this conversation in work situations or meeting situations or uncomfortable moments that you experienced, because sharing that helps others and we can work on some solutions together. So maybe that experience can be something you would be willing vulnerably share with us. We'll appreciate that.
Hi, Sheena here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sheena.
Okay, great. I'm going to try my new camera here. I don't know if it's working or not. Oh, okay. Maybe it's not working. Let me try my laptop camera. Okay, there I go. Hi. So yeah, I was saying the silver lining is the fact that, well, I don't know if it's just related to age or menopause or both, but it just seems like you become way more confident about who you are. You know, how you go through those stages when you're 20s and 30s. By the time you get to your 50s, you know, there's a bit more confidence. But then also playing with that is how the workplace changes over with bringing in younger people. And, you know, there's the dynamics of all the different generations in the workplace. So that's something to work with, as well as sometimes you feel like situations, they may not really be, but there's a bit of discrimination, as if, you know, 50 is the 50, between 50 and 60 is the cutoff point to someone wanting a career or advancement. And I think leaders need to be careful in using that word young all the time. It's in old, because as everyone states, it's a state of mind, and people are working way much older. I know a lot of people in my family wish they had worked longer than their 65 years or so, because they live to be 85, 90, 95. So, and bills don't stop because you age. So you need to work longer. And if you're going to stay healthy and we have the mindset to do so, then we should be able to work until we're, you know, 67 here. It's the mandatory cutoff. So the idea of always taking packages or leaving early, all this type of stuff, it's difficult. It's difficult to sometimes find another job because everyone wants to pay less money. So they want younger people too. So those are some things you run into emotionally or career-wise that I find is odd. And it's helpful sometimes when people say you look young, but when they look at your resume, you know, eventually they can tell you how long you've been in the workforce. And the mindset that people can't learn new things or they're stuck in their ways, not true. Some people learn all the time. They're always advancing and learning. So I don't have the mindset that I know it all or that I'm stuck in my ways. There's no ways to be stuck in if you need to earn a paycheck. So thank you.
Thanks very much for sharing that, Sheena. I wonder if there are any other comments from anybody in the chat. I think you touched on something very important, Sheena, about just how your emotions show up in the workplace. And I think we didn't necessarily touch too much on that. You know, I've heard from some women talking about issues of brain fog, and that affects their performance, or that they become extremely emotional in situations where the emotion is disproportionate to what's actually happening, and that they go out of control. They don't know how to control some of those things. So I'm hoping that it's something that will be covered in this series. But if either Olga, Lorraine, or Lynette want to sort of chime in on those particular issues. Someone also put in the chat, you know, when people are in denial about their own menopause, but it's affecting their work, how do we maybe engage with a person of that nature? Are we able to just bring up the conversation that, are you in menopause? Or how does one actually have those conversations?
So we definitely will have this conversation, I think, on seminar 3, when we will be going into life solutions and structuring around and actually practicing this. So really encourage you to come. We will talk next time more about the body. We'll talk about that component, third seminar. But we also will be talking about specific techniques and strategies and tips, how to set yourself before the meetings, during the meetings, after the meetings, how to approach this conversation for brain fog, how to use technology, AI for notes taking, and absolutely workable tips that you will have, like 12, 15 of them. So please do come for that conversation if that's a problem.
Lorraine, Lynette, Gabby, anything that you guys want to say? I think we sort of have about 4 minutes for the wrap up.
No, thank you everyone for joining. Please reach out to me by email, my World Bank email, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabby. Lynette and Lorraine.
Yeah, just looking forward to next week. Hope everybody can join us when Gabby and I talk about nutrition and fitness. Thanks.
When approaching an issue where there might be something with work, and I know that Nokokanya, you mentioned, should you say menopause or bring it out at that particular point? But I think at some point you'd need to focus in on, what am I experiencing? Is it fatigue? Is it a interruption in my sleep? You know, can that be addressed? And that's in the context of understanding it, perhaps in the context of menopause, but looking at it not in that idea that we break that down, we focus in on what might be affecting your ability to, carry on, meet deadlines, etc. And then as the conversation gets more comfortable, woman to woman, one could talk perhaps about, one's own experience with going through the transition of menopause. And that's really what I think this Healthy Staff presentation is giving us, that opportunity to be able to talk about the big subject. We're talking about menopause, but also those individual, symptoms and experiences that affect our transition, affect how we respond, to these physiological changes. So
I'd like to also thank Nakihane for moderating this session. It was really awesome. It hopefully opened up the conversations. We have a couple more minutes. Few resources for you shared. We have this beautiful resource from Lynette, so please download and print it out and use it. I also posted some resource on overall experiences, different symptoms, something that you can read through. I also shared some suggested resources and links that was collectively introduced by different panelists. Feel free to add to this. What is important to remember, that we need to be able to talk about this, because only when we have the language, when we can name our emotions, we can name our symptoms, we can name exactly what we're dealing with, only then we can manage it, when we know what it is. And so first step is go through all of this and journal, just write down, share with me or someone if you need to, what it is that you are experiencing, and think from different perspective, and then write it down. When it becomes a thing, the material thing that you name, you get power to start resolving it, looking for solutions, looking for support, and then share with us. We will collect, we have a form that we will reproduce in the Yammer group, where you can put questions, answers, and we will respond to them. So please keep a lookout for our announcement, and we look forward to seeing you next seminar. We talk about diets, nutrition, fitness, and the body more. The following week, we will be talking about lifestyle, leadership, career, relationship, and more like a life coaching elements and mindset. The following week, during the holidays, we will just play in mini sessions with mindfulness with Audrey and Gabby. And if I make it, I might do the belly dancing relaxation, 15-20 minutes for fun, to feel the divine goodness of self. And the final week, we will be talking about organizational support, what hygiene systems we can have, how to deal with cultural aspects at work. So that's the scope of our upcoming seminars. And thank you so much. If you have comments, please, we'll keep it open for a few minutes. Drop some notes for us so we know how we've done. Otherwise, we'll see you in a week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.